Welcome to the 29th episode of Indie and Music Industry World. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only JR Rotem Pt1. Hello. Hi there. How's it going? Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you. Yeah,
Finally.
finally we connected.
Yeah, it's a big, you're big. You're very amazing. Congrats so much. I've listened your last production, and it's absolutely cool.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Which one? The one on that I posted?
Yeah, everything. The one of the blonde girl with,
Oh, Remy Bond.
yeah, she's,
Thank you,
you're great, absolutely. So
thank you, man.
you
It's
started
great to be here.
as a classical jazz, you know. Is that just like a moment that they helped you to unlock, or maybe just like to save a new track? Maybe just like to put that kind of style on a different sound.
Yeah, you're saying my background in
Yeah.
classical jazz piano. Yeah. So for me, it's kind of like all I know. Every producer, every creator, they have a different background or they have a different superpower. But for me, I started off as a classical pianist, and then I became a jazz pianist before I was ever a producer. So then when I started producing, I was kind of very lucky in that I had those kind of skills of harmony and melody and understanding different kinds of music. So I was able to do many different styles. Like, yes, I love rap and I love hip hop and trap, but also, I can sit with like an Adele or a Remy Bond, and I can do different types of things. And the background in understanding music, jazz is such a sophisticated music that once you understand jazz and classical, everything else within pop is simpler to understand. It's a little bit more about understanding the style that the artist wants and the type of sonics. But I was able to sort of kind of use my background and figure out how to. You have to sort of simplify what you know in order to do pop. And so, I went through that process of understanding that and then being able to apply it.
How much a genre is important for you? When you work on a new track, or maybe you think that it's just only an emotional language,
Yeah, you're asking. Say that last question again. Sorry, it broke up. You said the emotional part.
Yeah, supposedly that how do you can define, a genre or a style when you produce a track, or is just only an emotional feeling?
That's a good question. I would say it sort of depends. When I'm in with a specific artist, or let's even say I'm at my studio making ideas for that artist, even without the artist there. What I try to do is I first understand what is that artist about. I might listen to some of their other songs that they put out so I can understand, oh, okay, I see what kind of emotion they like. I see what type of chords and sonics and things like that they like. And so then I try to basically make ideas that I think will inspire them. And that's a little bit of a balance between, okay, what have they done before? Where have they been? And where are they trying to go? And how can I give them like a balance between, I don't want to give them a copy, a watered down version of something else that they've already done, but I also don't want to give them something that's so from outer space, like, hey, this doesn't even sound like anything that they would like. So it's about bridging those two worlds. How do I make something that is my interpretation of what they want to do, of where they want to go? So it's a mixture, it's a mixture of like doing my research. They're this type of artist. These are the type of tracks and beats and things like that they're inspired by. But then where are they trying to go? I'm sort of like that bridge between you've been here, you're trying to go here, and my job is how can I help you go from here to there in a way that is authentic to that artist? And every artist is very different.
Yeah, that I've always been inspired by your music, because I think that you're just like a revelation of sounds. How much it's hard to find the right melody and of a track, because you're not a producer, you're an hitmaker. That's
Oh, thank
different.
you. I
Yeah,
appreciate
that's the
that. I
truth.
appreciate.
How
I
much you
appreciate that.
charge?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, listen, it's very much one of those things where you try your best. Again, I do my research. I have years and years of experience knowing music inside and out. But within that, sometimes I get it right and sometimes I get it wrong. Um, I guess my goal is I do want to make. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry. Yeah, my goal is to. I want to make something that feels authentic. If you only wear the hat of I just want to make a hit, I just want to make a hit, I just want it to be commercial. Of course, we all have that inside. Of course, we want to make the biggest possible music. Nobody wants to make music that people won't like. But there's kind of a balance between how do I make something though that feels authentic and honest, and keep in the back of my mind, yes, of course I would like it to be embraced by a lot of people. And it's a very hard thing to do. You can't just wave a magic wand and every time you make a song, it's a hit. Even the best of the best of the best, people who I look up to, not every song that they make, in fact, it's very much a numbers game. You might have to make many songs to get to one that's special. I might have to make many beats and many tracks to get to a few that the artist might like. And then from those, they have to write, the right lyrics to them. Sometimes they'll write lyrics that they like. Sometimes maybe the track was good, but they wrote a song that they don't like. So many different things have to align that's totally out of your control. You can only control so much. You can only do your best. It's like, I'm sure you try, with all of the content that you do and all of the interviews and all that, you want everyone to be the best. But if you look, hey, I got more views on this one than this one, and it's almost like, hey, if I could control it, I would have hundreds of millions of views of everything. Same thing for me as a producer. If I could control it, of course, every beat I do, somebody would like. Every song that I do, somebody would like. But the reality is that, it's not like that. You have to do song after song after song, beat after beat after beat. Sometimes artists record 50, 100 songs only to get to the 12 or 15 or 20 that they want to choose. So we're all in this game of trying to do our best every time, but you don't know where it's going to go.
What do you look for a new artist when you start to produce him? Just like the vocal technical, or maybe just like the vulnerability,
Yeah, that's a great question. It really depends. So I do two things. As a producer, I produce for artists who are signed to major labels,
Yeah.
big artists that are signed. But I also sign my own artists, develop new artists. So, when what I'm looking for to sign an artist is sometimes a different thing than what would I do to work with an artist that's already signed. But in both those cases, I would say, artists, they all have different kind of in common. You might get, there's some vocalists who are amazing, right? We can think of technically amazing vocalists. Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
There's people who have amazing technical voices. Adele.
Yeah.
But then there's other artists who maybe they don't have the most amazing kind of technical voice, but there's something really cool about them, right? Like Billie Eilish, great artist, right? Can she sing like, Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, Adele? Maybe not.
Yeah.
But she has her own identity, the way, what she writes, the lyrics she writes, what she does with her voice. Sometimes she's kind of being very soft with her voice. So I guess I'm saying that to say that I like to look for somebody who has something that's interesting to them, something that's different than what other people are doing. And sometimes that can be their superpower is, yeah, they're an amazing vocalist. Sometimes it's not so much how great of a vocalist they are. It's maybe their songwriting, it's maybe their identity, it's what they're saying, it's their kind of like point of view, that kind of thing. So I think it kind of varies. And also, it depends on the genre we're talking about. Because, in rap, trap, hip-hop, I'm looking for something there too different than pop or R&B or a rock band. But I think the common denominator is we all want artists, whether as producers, as fans, as whatever, somebody who's doing something a little bit different and unique.
How much your experiences in at the Berkeley College, as you said that, you have a lot of struggling there, in your past, how much does it make that shape into your music now?
You're talking about my background at Berklee College of Music in
Yeah.
Boston? Well, I would say, okay, so when I went to Berklee, I went right out of high school, and I had never really played jazz before. I had taken piano lessons, and of course I liked pop music and rap, but I took very strict classical lessons. And when you take very strict classical piano, they kind of frown on other kinds of music. They frown on jazz, they frown on pop. So I actually didn't really embrace jazz while I was doing classical because I was all in classical. And when I went to Berklee, I went there thinking I wanted to do film composing, film scoring. That's what I thought I was going to do. And when I got there, instead of doing that, I fell in love with jazz. So while I was there, yes, I took a lot of classes and things like that in jazz, but really it was the environment of being around a lot of musicians and kind of absorbing jazz from like my roommates and my friends and this and that. So I would say I learned a lot about jazz there, but a lot of it was just me practicing 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day piano. It was more that than the classes. So if I'm being very honest, when a lot of people say, hey, I'm thinking of going to music college, Berklee College of Music or another one, do you recommend it? And I can't say I say yes, you should do that, because there's only so much you can learn about music in books, in universities. If you're going to be a lawyer or a doctor, you need to get a degree in college. But if you're going to do other things like musician, entrepreneur, sometimes you don't need to go to college for those things. And, people that I didn't go to music college, right? So some of the best musicians of all time, they did not study this in college. So, again, for me, you can't erase the past. If somebody else is asking me, hey, do you think I should go to music college for 4 years? I would say, I don't know if you need to. Maybe you should just, start doing it. Because you learn more in trial and error actually doing it. Exactly.
Yeah. If you could leave behind a particular legacy, what would it be?
If I could leave behind a legacy?
Yeah.
Well, I got into music because there was people that I looked up to. Producers, bands, artists, right? As far as producers, Dr. Dre was a huge influence for me on hip-hop. Rick Rubin, also in all-style music. Quincy Jones, stuff he did with Michael Jackson and stuff. And of course I looked up to tons of artists and tons. So I would say I don't put myself in the same category, but I know that there are some people who are inspired and influenced by me and do look up to me. And so I feel that my legacy, I just want to be known for somebody who made people feel something, that entertained them, that inspired them. I think that part of, what makes me me is the fact that I am probably more musical than the average producer. I'm probably more versatile. I've been able to touch many, many different styles of music, from rap to rock to pop to country to all those things.
You made the music industry.
Oh, no, I appreciate that. But, if I'm being honest with you, it's like I'm very happy and I'm appreciative and I'm blessed. Really, I'm lucky to be here because, I was in the right place at the right time. Yes, I worked really hard, but I was blessed. The talent for making music, that I can't take credit for that. That came from above. And songs that I was able to be a part of, I was in the right place. So I'm very appreciative and blessed of what I've done, but I also feel like there's more that I want to. And I don't know if I still feel capable of making better music, in some way, bigger songs, better songs. It's like, when I really listen to music, all I can hear is the flaws. I can hear all the reasons why it could be, or why didn't I make that choice? Or when I listen to my idol's music, I'm not as good as them. And so I want to be as good as them. And I hope that I reach that point, but it's kind of keeps keeps me going. It makes me wake up in the morning and say, I still haven't done my best work.
That are doing right now the young producer in music?
I can't say that they're making mistakes, the young producers. I feel that we're obviously living in a different than what I grew up in, right? We're now living in an era where when I started music, there wasn't Spotify. When I started music, we were buying, and I don't want to make myself look too old here, but so I'll say this.
My era, because I used to learn the booklet of CDs and wrote JR Rotem everywhere, so we're in the same
okay,
era.
We're in the same. I think you're probably younger than me, but we're in the same.
Yeah.
But I would say that, look, the era that I come from, there was more quality control. So less people could just put out music. You needed to really learn your craft. And you needed to get signed, and there was the major label, and then the major label was the one who was said, oh, we're picking this song and we're putting that song out. And now in 2025, anybody can make a song. It doesn't, the technology is very cheap. You don't need high-end equipment. You just need a little laptop, a little microphone, and that's good in a lot of ways. So people starting out can kind of anybody can have their own channel, right? If you have TikTok, you have your own. Basically, this is your own channel. You can make your own music at home, put it out, and that's a lot of opportunity. People everywhere in the world who they don't have to meet, they can build their own fan base. And in that way, I could see how, wow, that's a really is now everybody can make music and everybody can put it out. And we have 100,000 new songs uploaded to Spotify every day. Every day, 100,000 new songs. Now, of course, there will always be people with talent, but now it's very diluted. There's a few people, thousands and hundreds of thousands, who are either their music isn't quite good, or maybe they need a few more years of development.
We're done the same thing, okay.
So now we're diluted with a sea of there's a lot of stuff that's not so great, and then you see it. Songs come out. And whereas, back in the days, a big album came out and wow, you're obsessed with this album, not for a day, not for a week, for a month, for 3 months. You're looking at the liner notes, you're listening to every little thing. Now, you listen to something on Spotify, you listen 30 seconds, okay, I got it, next one.
Are you for the artist too?
Totally. So there's this thing of where I think in a lot of ways, quality has gone down. Writing production quality, and instead of quality, it's been replaced by quantity and speed. Now at your fingertips, you can get every song that was ever made. You can flip from that. I mean, it's cool. What was that old Billy Joel song? I can get it like that. But again, we're being flooded with a lot of mediocrity. And so I think to go back to your original question, what are, new producers? I don't know that they're doing wrong. I think in every era, there's people who are very talented, who are using technology differently. But I also think there's a lot of people who are kind of making stuff that's just okay, and it's kind of diluting and saturating all the things that are good.
And what do you think the arrival of the AI right now in music?
AI?
Yeah. What do you think about it?
Well, I guess I don't really have. Some people have very strong opinion, this is the most amazing thing, and some people are like, this is the devil. For me, I haven't really seen it dramatically change the way I do stuff. Yes, can I now use Splice like anybody else and type in a prompt and get a loop that I wanted where it took me longer to get it? Yeah. I still think at the end of the day, people can kind of sense and connect. Music is like emotion. It's a language. And I do think at the end of the day, I could be wrong, but yes, you can have AI make you a song and make you a loop and make you a chord progression and this and that. But I think at the end of the day, if it wasn't used as a tool by a human with a point of view, I think at the other end, I think somebody else may not feel an emotional connection to something that's just purely AI. As an example, and this is before my time. Back in the day, of course, drums was all a real drummer. And then in the late 70s or 80s, they started to come out with drum machines. And I'm sure at the time said, hey, this is not human. I'm sure a lot of drummers said, what the hell is this? Right? This is not real. But, you know, we're all very used to the sound of drum machines and amazing producers, Quincy Jones himself, you know, Rick Rubin, Dr. Dre, all the people that we talk about. They used drum machines. Collins, even right in the air tonight was a drum machine. You know,